Welcome everyone, here is a duel with the final countdown deck from back in 2011. I've used this deck before and I believe Duel 11 and 34, and then I switched to the newer final countdown deck, which was then final countdown version 2012, because I had two different versions. The 2012 one was made in 2012, has been updated a little bit since, and this one still, it's called 2011 because it was made in Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2011, back in 2011, when I wasn't even on DN. Before I was into the competitive scene, but it was still a really good deck. The only changes compared to that was I believe I put Shard of Greed in instead of another drawing engine, and I put 3 Accused monsters in. That's the only difference. It's not the best deck, but if the opponent doesn't have anything to stop it, then it can be really good. I also, by the way, sped up this footage 2 times instead of the usual 1.5 because the duel was quite long, and not too much happened on most of the turns because it is a stall deck. Now I know that these duels may not be the most interesting to view, but I've done this since the previous Forbidden Limited List, is whatever decks get hit and are either unable to be played or are severely weakened, I like to play them just once more before they will probably never be used again. Like, I didn't intend to use this deck a lot more, Final Countdown in general, because of the reason that the duels aren't that interesting. But the duels aren't exactly interesting, but it's still sort of fun to use it, in a sense. And I decided to use the old Final Countdown deck just because I felt like I didn't want to use the new one, which definitely is better. I did it was last format. I did a duel with had a duel with Dragon Rulers, like with the babies, just before the list, like 2 days before the list came into effect. So I'll likely make a duel with the new Dragon Rulers. The new Dragon Rulers, the one without the babies. I've never actually made a duel video with them. So I'll very likely do so somewhere in December before the new list takes effect. Yeah, that's really it. I ran the duel. I'm just playing some cards. We actually had a duel before this, and it was a fun duel. I had Final Countdown in my hand first turn in that game, and it was a fun duel. I stalled it out, and I won in the end. But it was a fun duel. The opponent got Winged Dragon of Ra out and used its effect, and I was able to take it out with Blast Sphere. I have to say, Blast Sphere, if you have to ask me, if I would make a deck, just name 60 cards or something, or whatever, like cards that I used to like way in the past and I still like now, Blast Sphere would definitely be on there. Shadow Ghoul, I just like it. It's really not that good anymore, but I just like Shadow Ghoul. But Blast Sphere is still somewhat usable, so I'm going to see if I can make a deck where Blast Sphere can be very helpful, because I still really like Blast Sphere. So I'm going to try and do that. But yeah, I just like Blast Sphere. I decided to not use it here because the opponent has Prime Material Dragon, and that Prime Material can just negate it, then destroy Blast Sphere without it really doing much. So last time the opponent tributed 3 monsters for Winged Dragon of Ra, so I'm really just waiting until the opponent does whatever with Prime Material to get it off the field so that I can then play Blast Sphere to destroy something big. Right now I just have my mini lock with the Warriors because their effect is your opponent cannot target any face-up warrior type monsters you control except this one. That's Scarred Warrior's effect, which then protects Marauding Captain because it's a face-up warrior. Marauding Captain has that effect as well, which then protects Scarred Warrior, which makes them sort of have a mini loop, well, mini lock, because Captain stops Warrior from being targeted for an attack, and Warrior stops Captain. So, same like with 2 captains. I have, I believe, 3 captains in there, so I can make a lock with like a second captain. But this time I got Dark Resonator, so I'm like, oh, let's synchro with one of the Shield Wings, make Scarred Warrior, because Scarred Warrior has that effect as well. And even outside of that effect, if Scarred Warrior is on its own, it still has the effect that once per turn, if it would be destroyed by battle, it's not. So that's a fun effect. I never really place them in defense because I'm like, you can't attack anyway. I have negated cards face down. But eventually I do place them in defense position. Not that it really matters because the opponent never really gets to attack them due to their effects. They actually stay until the end of the game. A Shard of Greed here, I have it on the field, but with only 1 spell and trap zone open and 2 monster card zones, I will never actually send the this Shard of Greed to the graveyard because I just don't want the extra cards. I guess if I want the space, I'll send it away, but then I have 2 more cards, which means 1 more card that I'd have to discard, which I didn't really look forward to. So, and I never really needed anything else. If I wouldn't have Final Countdown yet, I wouldn't have it active yet, I would have used Shard of Greed to actually try and get it. But I didn't need it, so nothing wrong with that. I'm really hoping that it would just attack with something here, so I could use Draining Shield, get some life points, and also get some extra space. I never actually use Gravity Bind, which I place like face down turn 1. I don't really like to use it much. I didn't really feel like using it because I wanted the life points with Draining Shield so I could just make space. Technically, I suppose it would be better to play Gravity Bind and then keep Draining Shield for later, but then that would mean I don't have the space and I'd have to discard stuff, which I suppose would have been the better choice, but really I was feeling good. I knew also from the previous duel that the opponent didn't have too much to stop me. The opponent does have MSD, I don't know how many copies, but the opponent does have MSD, but I'm really not that afraid. I get Spirit Reaper here, I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I place on the field? I'll just place Negate Attack. It's a card that can be used like immediately. It's a one-time use, and then I can make space. But really, I don't have to negate anything because Arcana Force 0, the Fool doesn't get destroyed, Castlegate doesn't get destroyed, and Captain and Warrior protect each other with their effects. I don't really have much to do there. Okay, what do I do here? I just, well, add some counters to Shard of Greed because I'm really not sure how many counters it should have. Doesn't matter because you can only get 2 cards with it anyway. I'm like, okay, what do I do here? I could tribute Castlegate for another one. I could just discard something. I wasn't really sure what to do. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna play Waboku face down. I can always just play it or Shard of Greed, or I can play something to make space. And the opponent's like, oh, it's time. And since we use Polymerization, I'm like, that has to be 5-headed dragon, which it actually turns out to be. But I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be afraid of? I'm not gonna try and destroy it by battle. I'm not gonna try and overpower it. I'm just gonna keep stalling with mostly my traps. I have spells like Messenger Piece. I have my monster effects that can like have them not be destroyed by battle or protect each other from being targeted, like Scarred Warrior, Marine, and Captain. And I still have Blast Sphere in my hand, and look who left the field, guys! Prime Material Dragon! So I can now use my destruction effects. And I kept a Monster Zone open. How nice, huh? I did that on purpose. So I could still use Blast Sphere once Prime Material would leave. Now he attacks, I believe, my face down card. I'm like, okay, I want the space. For one, because no, I just want this way. I guess negate attack, then it isn't revealed what my monster is, then the opponent will try to attack it again, which is sort of useless. But I wanted the space for Blast Sphere, because Blast Sphere, when it equips to the monster, so it becomes an equip spell. But to become an equip spell, it actually needs the space in the spell and trap card zone. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to allow this, I don't care. The opponent will actually use MST on Gravity Bind at some point, but I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. I do want to hit 5-headed dragon. So I'm like, okay, nope. Red Eyes is not going to do it. I'm going to hit 5-headed dragon with that. Here, I don't have a new monster to play. I guess I could have tributed Castlegate for Castlegate. In the end, I do decide to. I wanted to keep it. I already have Gravity Bind face down. I have Scrap Bind Scarecrow face down, and 2 in my hand. I'm like, I can miss one. I'll get rid of it. Here, my opponent does take out Gravity Bind. Argues that I should have used it. I suppose I should have, but I didn't really feel like it. I guess. I wanted to use some other stuff to. I would look more at the space that I had for my cards, and I didn't really want to discard stuff. But if I already have effective stall on the field, why get rid of it to play a new one? If I already have an effective stall on the field in Gravity Bind. Now my opponent attacks Blast Sphere. I'm like, yes, I got it. Happy time. Here we hit 18 turns, so the opponent only has 1 turn left after this anyway to finish it off. 8,800 life points. I don't see it happening unless I place everything in attack mode, but even then I still have my trap cards. It's going to be final turn because Blast Sphere is going to deal 5,000 damage by destroying 5-headed dragon, and then the opponent will very likely not be able to take me out. Doesn't have Exodia in his hand, but at the end of their turn, it will be the 20th end of the turn after Final Countdown was activated. So yeah, it's time. I'm not gonna edit the music in, but it's the final countdown. Do 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 do, and I win! Yay! See you in the next video.